The purpose of any control system is to do precise control, even if the model can be uncertain or imprecise. Model imprecision may come from actual uncertainty about the plant or from purposeful simplification of the plant. So, first one, that is uncertainty in the plant means unknown plant parameters. For example, in a motor drive, when the resistance may be known for a nominal condition, known condition, but in the actual operating condition, when the motor runs for a long time due to losses, temperature rises. So, because of higher temperature, resistance also increases. So, what is the exact temperature at a particular moment and what is the resistance of the motor at that moment cannot be known precisely. So, that resistance is uncertain there. Similarly, the inductances can be different depending upon the flux level. So, these are the imprecision on the plant parameter, uncertainty in the plant parameter. The second type is the simplified representation of the plant model. For example, we model the friction as linear, but actual case friction is quite complex phenomena, it is highly nonlinear. So, this is simplification. So, this is uncertainty in the model. Similarly, the magnetization characteristics, BH characteristics, we consider it to be, sometimes we assume it to be linear, but actual BH characteristics is highly nonlinear. So, there is a simplification. So, the uncertainty is involved there. So, from control point of view, modeling inaccuracies can be classified into two types. One is structured uncertainty, another is unstructured uncertainty. Structured uncertainty means parametric uncertainty. Parameter is uncertain, as I told, resistance, inductance or other parameters can be uncertain. That is the structured uncertainty or parametric uncertainty. Unstructured uncertainty means model uncertainty. Model is not precisely known. For example, BH characteristics is not exactly modeled or friction is not exactly modeled. So, model is not exactly correctly defined. So, that is model uncertainty or unstructured uncertainty. So, two major approaches to deal with model uncertainty are robust control and adaptive control. Robust controller includes additional terms to deal with model uncertainty, and adaptive controller updates the model during the operation based on known performance. So, sliding mode control is a robust control. Sliding mode control is a class of robust control technique. So, it comes under robust control technique. The drive response is forced to track or slide along a predefined trajectory in a phase plane by switching control algorithm irrespective of plant parameter variation and load disturbance. It is basically a variable structure control system where the structure or topology of the control is intentionally varied to stabilize the control and makes its response robust to uncertainty and variations. So, it includes another extra term to handle the uncertainty in the model or parameter. It is much easier to control first order systems. Those are the systems described as first order differential equations, even if they are nonlinear or uncertain, than it is to control the general nth order systems. Those are the systems described by nth order differential equations. First order linear differential equation is quite simple, but even if the first order differential equation is nonlinear, it can be easily controlled compared to a nth order system. So, notational simplification is introduced to allow the nth order problems to be replaced by equivalent first order problem. For the transformed system, perfect performance can be achieved in the presence of arbitrary parameter inaccuracies. Such performance is obtained at the price of extremely high control activity. The high control activity may excite some ordinarily neglected dynamics, which then become the other source of modeling uncertainty. This leads us to a modification of the control laws, which, given the admissible control activity, is aimed at achieving an effective trade-off between tracking performance and parameter uncertainty. So, that controller is simplified. So, sliding controller provides a systematic approach to the problem of maintaining stability and consistent performance in face of model imprecision. It is successfully applied to robot manipulators, underwater vehicles, automotive transmissions and engines, high performance electric motor drives and power systems. So, let us consider the control problem. So, consider the single input nth order system given by the equation nth order differential equation 1, which is x nth derivative of x is a function of capital X plus b, which is a function of capital X into u. Here x is the output, x is the output and u is the control input, and capital X is the state vector, that is nth order, which has the dimension n cross 1, n vectors, n elements are there, x dot up to x n minus 1 first derivative of the x dot is, or x to the power 1 is dx by dt, and x n minus 1 first derivative of x is dn minus 1 x by dt n minus 1. So, the x is the state vector. The function f of state vector capital X is not exactly known, but in general nonlinear. Function of the state vector f x is not exactly known, that is the main issue. So, the imprecision in f x, then let us write delta of f x, because uncertainty is there, we are considering uncertainty. So, f x is not exactly known, and what is the imprecision in f x at a particular moment, that is f of capital X, it is always less than certain delta f maximum value, that is upper imprecision is upper bound. Similarly, b of x is also not exactly known. Imprecision in b is delta b of x is less than equal to delta b some maximum value, but sign of delta b is known, plus or minus, that is known. So, the control problem is to get the state x to track a specific desired state x d in presence of model imprecision on f x and b x. Here x d is the nth order vector, n cross 1 vector given by x d dot and n minus first derivative of x d, and it is the desired state vector for tracking. So, tracking problem is x equals to x d for all t. This is the tracking problem. For all time t, x has to be x d. The actual state has to be the desired state vector. So, the tracking problem is x has to be equal to x d for all time t. For the tracking task to be achievable, the initial desired state vector x d 0, the initial value x d 0 is equal to x 0 at time t equal to 0. That means at time t equal to 0, the state value x must be equal to the desired state value x d 0 at time t equal to 0. This is the equation number 2. Otherwise, if this equation number 2 is not satisfied, that means at time t equal to 0, x is not equal to x d, then obviously there will be error, tracking error, and the tracking problem, that is e equal to x minus x d, tracking error. It has to be, if it is at t equal to 0, then transient process will be there, and during this transient process the error is not 0, tracking problem is lost, but after the transient settles, then it will be tracking at the steady state. So, in a second order system, the position or velocity x dot cannot jump, so that the desired trajectory feasible from t equal to 0 must start with the same position and velocity as those of the plant. Otherwise, tracking has to be possible only after a transient period. So, next we will see the simplification of the sliding mode controller. So, that we can be able to design the sliding mode controller. So, let the tracking error in the state x be E equals to x minus xd. X is the actual state at time t equal to 0, xd is the desired state at time t equal to 0, and tracking error is E, that is x minus xd, it is the tracking error in state x. And the tracking error vector, that is capital E, that is E dot, and second derivative E double dot, like n minus first derivative of phi. It is n dimensional tracking error vector. Tracking error vector capital E is the state vector capital X minus desired state vector capital XD. So, a time varying for this tracking problem, to handle this tracking problem, a time varying surface ST is defined by the scalar equation given by equation 3, that is a small s of x and t equals to 0, where the scalar small s is d by dt plus lambda whole raised to the power n minus 1 operated on output error E. It may be noted that it is not n minus 1th derivative, but exponent. Let us consider a second order system. If n equals to 2, then the equation is s equals to E dot plus lambda E. That means, s is a weighted sum of position E is the position and E dot is the velocity. So, s is the weighted sum of position error and velocity error. With initial condition of equation 2 which you have done, then initial condition, that is xd 0 equal to x 0 as per equation 2 for the tracking problem to be feasible. So, this is required for all x to be equal to xd to be equal to x for all t. This requires s equals to E dot plus lambda E equals to 0. So, this is a differential equation, first order differential equation, and it has a unique solution for E and E dot, and this is the initial condition. If order of the system n is 3, s the scalar is d by dt plus lambda raised to the power 3 minus 1 operated on E, that means d by dt plus lambda square operated on E, that is E double dot plus 2 lambda E dot plus lambda square times E. So, x d equals to x if s equals to E dot plus lambda E equal to 0. This is the tracking problem, and this is the differential equation which is to be solved. It has unique solution, and this is the initial condition. The problem of tracking the n dimensional vector xd, n dimensional vector xd equals to x. This is the n dimensional tracking problem. So, now this n dimensional tracking problem can be replaced by first order stabilization problem in S, that means keeping the scalar quantity small s at 0. So, that is the main concept in the sliding mode control. It can handle any nth order system, that means the system can have n variables, and the system differential equation can have nth order, it can be nth order differential equation. So, this nth order tracking problem where n state variables have to be tracked simultaneously, this is replaced by a first order stabilization problem. That means we have to ensure that the scalar equation variable s, which is given by E dot plus lambda E, has to be 0 for all time. Since the equation 3 which we have numbered, that is equation 3 is s of xt d by dt plus lambda n minus 1 e. This is the equation 3. The expression of s contains e to the power n minus first derivative of e. The expression of scalar s contains n minus 1th derivative of error e. So, we only need to differentiate the scalar s once for the input to appear in the equation of e. So, let us define the sliding condition. So, the nth order tracking problem is replaced by first order stabilization problem. So, with this you have to derive the sliding condition. The simplified first order problem of keeping the scalar variable s small s at 0 can be achieved by choosing the control law u such that outside of surface s t, capital S of t, this is the surface, outside of the surface s t, the equation to be satisfied is 4, that is half of d by dt of s square, small s is the scalar variable, is less than equal to minus eta times the magnitude of the scalar variable small s. Here eta is a positive constant. Equation 4 states that the square distance, because this is the distance, square distance decreases along all system trajectories. Thus, it constrains the trajectories to points toward the surface S t. I will show it in next slide. This is the surface S of t defined by S small s, the scalar quantity, that is d by dt plus lambda raised to power n minus 1 is operated on E, and this S is 0. This is the definition of the surface, and this is the figure for the sliding condition. When equation 4 is satisfied, that is half of d by dt of s square is less than equal to minus eta into magnitude of s. The square distance to the surface is as measured by s square decreases along all system trajectories. Thus, it constrains the trajectories to point towards the surface S t as shown in the figure. Once on the surface, the system trajectories remain on the surface. Equation 4 is called the sliding condition, which makes the surface an invariant set. Some disturbances or dynamic uncertainties can be tolerated while still keeping the surface an invariant set. The trajectories outside the surface can move while still pointing towards the surface. Surface S t satisfying equation 4 is called the sliding surface, and the system's behavior once on the surface is called sliding regime or sliding mode. Once the sliding surface of the system trajectories are defined by the equation of the set itself, that is d by dt plus lambda raised to the power n minus 1 operated on E is 0. In other words, the surface S t is both a place and a dynamics. The nth order tracking problem is replaced by first order stability problem. We will determine the upper bounds on error and its derivatives. As we know, d by dt plus lambda to the power n into E is S x t. This is the equation 3. We have got it. So, the tracking error E is obtained from scalar S through a sequence of first order filters. How? So, we replace d by dt by p. So we have p plus lambda into n times operated on E equals to S. Let us write St. S is a function of t. So error E 1 by p plus lambda raised to the power n operated on St. Sorry, this is n minus 1. This is n minus 1. So we have, say, how to obtain it. Let us see. This is St, this color, operated multiplied with 1 by p lambda. We get the first output y1, then another p plus lambda operated another 1 upon p plus lambda. We obtain y2 and we continue this. Yn minus 2 is multiplied with 1 upon p plus lambda, that is error E, which is yn minus 1. So this is the first filter, this is the n minus 1th filter. So this is the figure for computing boundary on error E. So from this we can find out bounds on S, upper bound, bounds on scalar S can be directly translated into bounds on the tracking error vector E. How? Let us find out. Let phi be the upper bound on S, that is mod of St is less than equals to phi. Phi is the upper bound on scalar S. So y1 is the output of the first filter. So what is the output y1? y1t, output of the first filter. What is its time expression? So as you can see, we can get y1 from St using the block or transformation 1 by p plus lambda. So if you want to find out y1, you can solve the differential equation. This is a differential equation and you can solve it through Laplace transform approach also. So here in the input is a function, time function St, and there is a block whose Laplace inverse of 1 upon p plus lambda is e to the power minus lambda t. So St is one time function, it is getting transformed through a block which is multiplying e to the power minus lambda t. So output y1 is obtained by convolution theorem operating on the Laplace transform domain. So you can write y1 of t equals to integral of s of capital T is the dummy variable, which is now integration will be done with respect to St minus lambda t minus t dt from 0 to t. This is by convolution theorem. So using this equation, first we will find out bounds on y1. As upper bound on S is less than phi, y1t is less than equal to, so integral of S1 in upper limit on boundary S is phi. So it is phi into integral of e to the power minus lambda t minus t dt from 0 to t. So or y1t is less than equal to phi, taken out, phi is a constant and it is taken outside the integration. If you integrate integration of e to the power minus lambda t minus t, it is 1 by lambda integration result is e to the power lambda t minus t from 0 to t. Phi is the upper bound on S. So phi is there. So y1t is less than equal to phi by lambda. If you put capital T, if you replace capital T by small t, first term is e to the power 0, so it is 1, and second term e to the power minus lambda t, as capital T is 0. And the term in the bracket in this expression, it is maximum value is 1 and value is always 1 or less, because e to the power minus lambda t, e to the power something is always a positive quantity. So, it is less than or equal to 1. So, maximum value is 1 or it is less than that. So, we have upper bound on y1 t is phi by lambda. So, we got upper bound on y1 t, which is the output of the first filter. So, there are n such n minus 1 such filters, n minus 1 filters. So, each filter will divide by 1 lambda, because they are identical features. Because upper bound on st is phi and first filter, due to passing through first filter, the upper bound is divided by lambda. So, if n minus 1 filters, after passing through n minus 1 filters, you can see when we obtain output E, so magnitude of E is less than equal to phi by lambda to the power n minus 1, and or we can write magnitude of E is less than equal to epsilon, where epsilon is phi by lambda n minus 1. So, this is the upper bound on error E, that is phi by lambda n minus 1. To obtain the ith derivative of E, that is dIE by dTi and its bounds, Z1 is considered, which is the output of the n minus I minus 1th filter, as shown below. This is the first filter, 1 upon p plus lambda. Input is small s and output is y1. So, this is one block. If we put such n minus 1 blocks, let us write this is n minus 1th block, identical 1 minus n minus 1 identical blocks with 1 by p plus lambda operation, we get error E. Okay. So, it is 1 upon p plus lambda. Now, if we want to obtain the derivative, that is dE by dt, what we do? We multiply p here. If we multiply with the input to the last block, this is the last block, if we multiply the input to the last block by the factor p by p plus lambda, so instead of error we will obtain E1, that is dE by dt. If we want to multiply d square E by dt 2, then we multiply 2 blocks with p plus lambda. This is the input to the last but the second row block, and we multiply p by p plus lambda to last 2 blocks. So, we get E2, that is d square E by dt 2. So, if we want to obtain EI, ith derivative of E, that is dEI by dIE by dTi. So, what we have to do? We have to consider this variable Z1, which is passed through I blocks, I number of blocks, identical blocks with transfer function p by p plus lambda. Then instead of error E, we get dIE by dTi. With only 1 by 1 plus lambda, we are getting all the blocks with 1 by p plus lambda, we are getting E. So, if we multiply I blocks with p by p plus lambda, so we get dIth derivative of E, that is dIE by dTi. So, from Z1 we get that. So, total n minus 1 blocks are there. So, I blocks are multiplied with p by p plus lambda. So, remaining n minus 1 minus I blocks are multiplied with only p 1 by p plus lambda to obtain z1. So, this is the figure to obtain dIE by dTi, that is ith derivative of E. This is the figure to obtain that block. We replace I blocks of transfer function 1 by p plus lambda by p plus lambda. So, we get p I derivatives. P means d by dt. So, with this block, with this figure, we can get upper bound on EI. So, as p by p plus lambda is 1 minus lambda by p plus lambda, the figure just drawn implies upper bound on error EI is less than equal to phi is the upper bound on the input S, then there are n minus I minus 1 blocks of time constant 1 by lambda. So, lambda by n minus I minus 1, this is the bound on upper bound on error Z which is obtained after n minus 1 minus I first order filters, and then remaining filters their maximum value will be 1 plus lambda by lambda, and there are I such blocks. You see, last I blocks have the transfer function p by p plus lambda. So, maximum value of that, you see, p by p plus lambda can be written as 1 minus lambda by p plus lambda. The second term maximum value can be plus 1, because minus sign, second term can make the sign to reverse. So, minus can be made plus and p can be 0. So, 1 plus 1 plus lambda by lambda raised to the power I such blocks. So, ith derivative of E has upper bound phi by lambda n minus 1 into lambda minus I into 2 to the power. So, this implies upper bound on ith derivative of E is less than equal to phi by lambda raised to the power n minus 1 into 2 lambda raised to the power I. So, for ith derivative of E, upper bound is given by this expression. When I is 0, upper bound on error E is only phi by lambda n minus 1. Putting I equals to 0, upper bound of error E is phi by lambda n minus 1. So, what we find? The scalar S represents a true measure of tracking performance. The error vector which is error E dot, E double dot, like E n minus 1, t is not equal to 0, not a 0 vector, bounds on E are obtained asymptotically within a time constant n minus 1 by lambda. The bounds, upper bounds of each term of the error vector are obtained by the equation derived d error bounds of error EI, ith derivative of E, and so we get the error vector E, and the error vector E is constrained within the bounds asymptotically with a time constant n minus 1 lambda. Thanks for attention.